Let us offer our consecration to the Lord. Lord, we offer up to you this day, and we ask that your name be glorified as we finish this week and as we look forward to the upcoming weekend. Let us be filled with your Spirit at all times, and let us seek to know you, love you, and serve you in all that we do. And we ask this through Christ our Lord. Well, today is Friday of the 20th week of Ordinary Time, so we're looking forward to the weekend coming up and also the 21st Sunday. We're looking at a very powerful passage from Ezekiel. Of course, you can find this in your daily missal, whether it's an actual bound form of the daily missal or whether it is a magazine form, such as The Word Among Us. Daily Word, I think, is one, and also bible.usccb.org. But you're going to find a famous passage in Ezekiel, because we're continuing through Ezekiel today. And it's where Ezekiel sees nothing but bones. And then the Lord adds slowly, like a body to the bones, very slowly, and adds them through his breath, and they come to life. This is hugely significant, and this has really serious implications for today's Christianity, including, of course, Catholicism. One of the things we're seeing is Ezekiel sees the bones, and he's called to prophesy to the bones. Well, what's the big thing about bones? And it's really simply this. The bones would represent the laws of the Jewish faith. Now, they don't. He's speaking to Jews, so it's the laws of the Jewish faith. But we can take them to mean laws in general if we want to take that out of the specific time and bring it to our time. And there's a reason for that that's so important. You see, when our faith is focused solely on obeying laws, then it becomes just like dry bones. So now there's no life in our faith because our focus is, well, we have to do this. Why do we have to go to church? Well, I have to go to church. If I don't go to church, I'm going to go to hell. Well, I have to do this because if I don't do this, I'm going to go to hell. Well, I have to make sure I don't eat meat on Friday because if I eat meat on Friday, I'm going to go to hell. Those are all laws, eat on Friday and Lent. And those are laws that are there for a reason, but they don't help us if we don't understand our relationship with God in the process. So this is what's happening here. There's no life in those bones. And the reason why there's no life is because they get focused solely on the law. And eventually they got discouraged and they went to other places. They went to other gods. This is hugely, 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 hugely significant. Because this is a problem, especially, I don't know about the other churches, but I know about the Catholic Church, especially in the Catholic Church, when people are talking strictly about laws and not putting life on the bones. So I'm going to tell you, this is hugely significant. We have to have a relationship with God in our faith. I always talked about prayer is essential, absolutely essential. And I just published an article as I'm saying this, so it's been published for about a week. It's actually and helps to the people who are struggling terribly trying to follow the church's laws, and I'm going to be speaking to them soon. But one of the important things is that I write in this because everything I write is important. I'm sorry, I'm laughing now. I just want to make sure. I just caught myself saying that, and I said, what's important here? Because everything I write is important. Not really. But what I'm writing here that is key is that we are in a partnership with God. Many people look at our relationship with God as a dictatorship, and they won't call it that, but if you ask them to describe it, they'll go, well, that's a dictatorship. We have to follow these certain rules, and if we don't follow these rules, God will cast us into hell for all eternity. How is that not a dictatorship? And that's not what we have been called to. We have been called to a partnership with God. Remember, Jesus called us his friends through the apostles. When we are in relationship with God, we are in a friendship with God. That comes right from the words of Jesus. So anyone who says, oh, no, that's all that liberal stuff. No, it isn't. That comes right from the words of Jesus. He calls us his friends. So we are in a partnership with God. And that partnership that's why prayer is so important. It's part of our partnership. It's part of our relationship with God. It's part of all of this. And when we understand all that, that being part of our relationship, part of all that, then we understand that we're not in a dictatorship. We are in this partnership through prayer. We'll talk more on the other side of the break. You're listening to St. Anthony Overnight from St. Anthony Parish in Allston, Massachusetts, part of the voice of St. Anthony Parish. We'll be right back right after this. Just don't forget that bullying is harmful because it causes deep emotional and psychological damage to victims, leading to anxiety, depression, and even suicidal thoughts. It negatively affects self-esteem and school performance, creating an environment of fear and insecurity. Furthermore, it perpetuates a cycle of violence and disrespect, damaging social coexistence. It is essential to combat bullying to promote a healthy, safe, and welcoming environment for everyone. Those who bully forget, but those who suffer will never forget what happened. It is a public service message from St. Anthony Parish in Allston, Massachusetts. You can now leave a message for us, which we can air and discuss on this program. Just call 617-297-7452. That's 617-297-7452. 617-297-7452. Feel free to call, leave a comment, a question, or even feedback, and we may play it on the air. I can discuss your comment or question as well, so give that a try. 617-297-7452, 617-297-7452. We're back, and we're talking about this understanding of our faith. If we lose a sense that it is a friendship with God, a partnership with God, a friendship by God's initiation to us, a partnership with God, if we get focused on just the rules, then our faith ends up getting all dried up and we're following the rules and there's no life in it. Then we get discouraged and we walk away. This is a real problem in the church when you see people who are following rules, who are quoting rules, who will turn, and what will they say? Well, if you don't follow the rules, you're going to end up in hell. I'm sorry. That's not what the church actually teaches. What the church teaches, there is a hell, and we believe in it. And who goes to hell? The people who refuse to follow the rules. That's an obstinance. That's a refusal to follow the rules. Those are the people who Ezekiel spoke to, calling them back to the faith. And when they refused, they said, he said, well, God speaking through him, well, there's only one alternative, and it's not a pretty one. But those are people who refused. They were obstinate in their faith. Obstinate, actually. I always put an N in there. There's one. Obstinate in the faith. And that's wrong. That's what the Lord is trying to lead us away from. Hell is for people who are obstinate, and so what happens is people just seek on following the rules, and they're not in contact with God. They're not asking the Lord. They're just, this is a dictatorship. I have to follow what the dictator says, or else. And what happens is they just get discouraged and finally saying, and I think I talked about this earlier in an earlier show. Finally, they say, well, if that is what I have to believe in order to be saved, then my alternative is just not to believe in anything and don't worry about it at all. And that's what happens. So this whole passage where Ezekiel is prophesying over the bones, bringing them life, giving them life, and all that is something that we have to keep in mind. If your faith is nothing but following rules, you don't pray or you don't know how to pray, so, well, I pray, Father, I say an Our Father every morning. That's important, but that's not what the Lord calls us to. I'm going to encourage you to find some good books on prayer. And I'll give you what do you call it? I'll give you a disclaimer first. One book I like a lot is How to Converse with God by St. Alphonsus Liguori. However, it was written in the 18th century. It's an excellent book. It's written in the 18th century. Remember, I always quote St. Alphonsus Liguori saying, you speak to God as you would a good friend. And he was a doctor of the church. So I will talk to you about that situation, about that prayer that's important by encouraging you to read that book, but it was written in the 18th century. It is somewhat politically incorrect in a line or two here or there. I just want you to know that because he's not writing for 2024 United States or even the earth. He's writing for the 18th century in Europe, and they just had different ways of expressing things. Among them, I think that's the book where he says how important it is to go to the doctor so you can be leeched. Okay. Definitely don't be doing that. So anyway, but you see what I'm saying, how prayer is important. That is important. If we fall into a idea that God is a dictator and he's bringing us to heaven or else, we go to hell. And if we have that mindset and we don't have that prayer life that's going to lead us away from that mindset and lead us to understand who God truly is, then we are going to end up with a faith that's like dry bones, and that doesn't serve anyone, and probably end up walking away or going to another church where they go, hey, they understand God as a friend. Why don't Catholics do? Because we do, but people don't teach it. We'll be back on Monday. I want to call your attention to Catholic TV, which offers great faith-filled, family-friendly programming 24 hours a day. You can find your cable channel at www.getcatholictv.com, and you can watch online on the free apps or check out the YouTube channel. Daily Mass, Rosaries, the Divine Mercy Chaplet, and the Our Lady of Perpetual Help Novena are all available online and on demand. Check out catholictv.com. Remember, when you're looking for a place to attend Mass, and if you don't already attend Mass at your local parish, come to St. Anthony Parish in Allston, Massachusetts. We're located at 43 Holton Street in Allston, just a few blocks up from Soldiers Field Road. And you can check us out, come to our 10 o'clock a.m. Mass, and come to experience our Catholic worship at St. Anthony Parish in Allston, Massachusetts.